Welcome back, guys. Hey, did you know that suicide is painless and it brings on many changes? I mean, I can take or leave it if I please. But anyway, happy Thanksgiving, everyone. I grew up watching a lot of old TV shows. MASH was not one of them. Every time it would start to come on, my mom immediately shut it off. She did not like it. She said it was a depressing show. So I didn't really see it until I was a grown adult and could do whatever I wanted. Honestly, that's about the only upside to being an adult. And now that I have seen the whole series and sat with it for a few years, my mom wasn't wrong exactly. It's just that I kind of dig depressing things. At least sitcoms that have something more on their mind than just laughs. And MASH had a lot on its mind. At least the later seasons did. If by some chance you don't know, MASH stands for Mobile Army Surgical Hospital, and the series is about the doctors, nurses, and other officers who work at the 4077 unit during the Korean War. Though really, it was about the Vietnam War, but it's fine. Sadly, MASH only had one Thanksgiving episode, so this is going to be a short one. This show ran a whopping 11 seasons and didn't get around to Thanksgiving until pretty late in the game. The Thanksgiving episode is called The Yalu Brick Road. It's a season 8 episode, and that is long after Trapper, Blake, and Frank left the show, so sorry about that. This one is well into the BJ Potter and Charles years. MASH started out as a novel by Richard Hooker, turned movie directed by Robert Altman, turned TV show directed by Larry Gelbart. And it got more and more anti-war with each new iteration. Good for MASH. I have not read the book, I have seen the movie, and how do I put this? I kind of hate it. But in my defense, I hate almost every Robert Altman movie I've ever seen. Except for California Split and Images. Those two can stay. I'm not saying he was a bad filmmaker by any means, he just had a very particular style that I just don't really vibe with. There is one thing I like about it. That's a lie. There are two things I like about it. One is young, sexy Elliot Gould, and two, the set design. The 4077 actually looks like a really shitty place that you'd want to get out of as fast as possible. In the show, honestly, the camp looks pretty nice for the most of the time. Not saying I would want to live there, of course, but it's not as depressing as it looks in the movie. But the show is a different animal than the movie altogether. The first few seasons are a lot closer, with some standout exceptions, like sometimes you hear the bullet. But then in season 4, after Trapper and Blake left, the show undergoes a soft reboot. Slowly, but it gets there as Alan Alda gains more and more creative control. It goes from mostly a comedy with some drama to a drama with some comedy. Whether this was a good move or not is entirely up to the viewer. I know some find it too preachy and overwrought in the later seasons, and that's totally fair. I myself love it, because, they are in the middle of a war, there's only so many laughs to be had there, and I'm kind of a slut for angst. So for the purposes of this video, I will only be talking about the cast of characters who are in this episode. No Blake, no Trapper, no Frank, no Radar. Sorry, Radar. We've got Hawkeye because Hawkeye is MASH and MASH is Hawkeye. He is our protagonist to the point that Wayne Rogers left the show because Trapper was relegated to simply Hawk's sidekick. A good example of this is that Hawkeye is the chief surgeon on the show, and in the movie, it's Trapper. Now, Dr. Hawkeye Pierce has a very tenuous grip on his sanity throughout the series that gets worse and worse as it goes on, culminating in the chicken incident in the finale. If you know, you know. He's very anti-war, he's very anti-military, even though he does respect Colonel Potter. He refuses to ever fire his gun, he finds little ways to rebel constantly, it's just how he copes. Well, that and drinking. He flirts with everyone, and I firmly believe if they made this show today, he would be openly bisexual. He's a great doctor, he's a dedicated doctor. No matter how much he hates the war and hates the fact that he's forced to be where he is, he will always give everything he can to his patients. He's close with his dad, who seems to be all he has in the States. His mom died when he was a little kid, and he was an only child. But he's very good at making friends. Everyone on this series, except Frank, I guess, falls for his charms eventually. It's hard not to love him. His best friend at this point in the series is BJ. He started out at odds with Margaret, but she gets a lot of growth throughout the show, and they become close too. He's frenemies with Charles, they butt heads, but there is a lot of respect there, at least for their abilities as surgeons. He's kind of a tragic figure, because he does finally get to go home in the end, but I don't know if he's ever going to really recover. I feel like everyone else is going to be okay eventually. I don't think Hawkeye's ever going to be okay again. Since I didn't watch MASH as a child, I knew Alan Alda from this PBS show he did called Scientific American Frontiers. We watched them in my freshman biology class. It was an odd introduction to the man, but whatever. He's a multiple Emmy winner, an Oscar nominee, and a Tony nominee. He's written 3 memoirs. I've only read the first one, haven't gotten around to the others yet. And as of this recording, Alan Alda is still with us. Next up, we have Hawkeye's partner in crime, family man BJ Honeycutt, who came in clean cut as can be in season 4 and went home with a huge mustache and a pink Henley. That's what spending 8 years in what was historically a 3-year war will do to a man, I guess. BJ has a wife and baby daughter at home, and unlike his predecessor, he stays faithful to his wife. Mostly. Except for one time, and he did not take it lightly. He felt horrible about it. Whereas Trapper, Blake, and Frank could not have cared less about their endless affairs, BJ and Potter would prefer to remain faithful to their wives. They're genuinely in love with the women they married. BJ's also a good doctor, a loyal friend, but he's for sure got a mean streak in him. A temper that tends to blow spectacularly. He's also pretty devious when he wants to be. Like, his pranks can just get nasty sometimes. He can get really jealous too, both of his wife and Hawkeye. Like, he's jealous of Trapper, and he never even met Trapper. Still, he has a good heart, and I love him. He's played by Mike Farrell, and he's still out there working. He was in that cartoon episode of Supernatural. Not the Scooby-Doo one, the other cartoon one. He played the dad on the show Providence, and I don't know if anyone remembers that show, but my mom was a fan, so I watched it pretty regularly. He was on an episode of The Monkees, but unfortunately it was the Yellowface episode, and that's not cool. He was a producer on Patch Adams, which is kind of random. I wonder how that ended up happening. Next, we have the only other character besides Hawkeye who stuck out all 11 seasons, Margaret Houlihan. I am not calling her Hot Lips, that's stupid. She's the head nurse and probably had the most visible character growth. She starts the series as an antagonist, carrying on an affair with Frank, but unlike Frank, she was allowed to grow beyond that. She moved away from him, she made friends with her nurses, she made friends with Hawkeye. She let some of her guard down, let herself play and have fun where she could. She was raised in a military family, and she is a military woman through and through. She takes the service extremely seriously, and she is not afraid to stay behind to do her job while others are evacuated from the camp. She gets married to an officer named Donald Penobscot in season 5, and he turned out to be the actual worst, so they got divorced by season 7. Poor Margaret. I tend to watch the later seasons, so it always trips me out to go back to the early ones when she's so openly hostile towards Hawkeye. I think part of the change happened because of Potter. She does not respect Henry Blake, but Sherman Potter is regular military just like she is, so she does respect him. Margaret is played by Loretta Swit, and she's in this really cool horror movie called Race with the Devil. It's her, Peter Fonda, Warren Oates, and some chick from Dark Shadows trying to outrun a bunch of Satanists in their camper. It's amazing. She was the original Christine Cagney in the pilot movie of Cagney and Lacey. She wanted to do the series, but the producers, which I assume means Alan Alda at that point, would not let her out of her MASH contract. Probably because too many original characters had gone by that point, and they weren't about to give up the only female character they had. Too bad for her. Swit passed away just earlier this year. Next is Colonel Sherman Potter, the leader of the camp, and he's great. I am no fan of Henry Blake for multiple reasons, which I won't go into now. Suffice to say, out of all the main characters who come and go in this show about a war, I'm glad he's the only one who died. Shot down over the Sea of Japan, indeed. Potter is the guy I'd feel safer with in this situation. Like I said, he's a military man, but he also understands that the doctors working for him are not. He's reasonable and understanding, but is still able to keep the 4077 running pretty smoothly. He has a wife at home, his children are grown, he has grandchildren. He was in both world wars, so he's highly experienced and highly competent. If I were drafted into the military, I would glue myself to his side. Potter was played by Harry Morgan. Outside of MASH, he's probably best known for Dragnet, the 60s version. He was also in films like The Oxbow Incident, Support Your Local Sheriff, and High Noon, among many, many others. In the 50s, he was on a show called December Bride that ran for 157 episodes, and its spin-off, Pete and Gladys, that ran for 72. Morgan passed away in 2011. Next up is Charles Emerson Winchester III, the fourth and final surgeon in the 4077 who was banished there by his superior because he kept beating them at cribbage. I think it was cribbage. Anyway, Charles is great, a breath of fresh air who came into this series about the halfway mark. So different from the one-dimensional weasel that was Frank Burns. He's a pompous ass with a superiority complex, but unlike Frank, he actually is a very talented doctor. And he does care. Deep down. Deep down. And sure, he fights with Hawkeye and BJ, but they're also kind of friends. When he first showed up, they kind of pushed a sexual tension thing between him and Margaret, but they wisely dropped that after season 6. Aside from that and some early episode weirdness where I'm pretty sure they were just going off scripts that still included Frank and sticking Charles in his place, he's a wonderful character. He's got layers. And he was played to perfection by David Ogden Stiers. He was the last regular to join the series. Stiers did quite a bit of voiceover work for Disney. You might know him as Cogsworth from Beauty and the Beast, or Governor Ratcliffe in Pocahontas, or Jumba in Lilo and Stitch. He also narrated a lot of Winnie the Pooh specials. He was on The Dead Zone, the series, not the movie. He played the DA in like 8 Perry Mason TV movies. He was in a few episodes of Stargate Atlantis, a show that I love. It's a pretty cool career if you ask me. Stiers passed away in 2018. Then we have Father Mulcahy, a sweetie pie angel man. He's just so good. He's such a good person. He truly just wants to help in any way he can. There's an episode where a visiting cardinal or bishop or some important Catholic guy is coming to visit their camp, and he gets hung up on everyone being on their best behavior until he finds out that a patient there has just been diagnosed with leukemia, and he instantly shifts his focus to what matters and stays up with the patient, talking and counseling him the whole night. He's in with the black market, but it's purely to get supplies that will help patients and a local orphanage, because of course there's an orphanage. He boxes, he wants to be promoted, his sister's a nun, he can match jokes with Hawkeye, he's a pacifist, unless he's really pushed. He's so brave, he doesn't judge, he just loves. It's also kind of hot when he walks around in that black shirt. Forgive me, Father. He's played by William Christopher, mostly. George Morgan played him in the pilot, but I don't even think he had any lines. Christopher was recurring until season 5 when he was finally added to the main cast. And during season 5, the actor got very sick with hepatitis and had to miss several episodes. Alan Alda wrote his illness into the show. Reportedly, the producers considered dropping him while he was sick until Alda stuck up for him. Aside from MASH, he didn't really have another standout role. He was a working actor before and a working actor since. He passed away in 2016. And finally, we have Max Klinger, the man who dressed in drag through most of the series because he wanted to appear crazy enough to be discharged from the army and sent back home to his beloved Toledo. It actually ages better than you'd think. No one really makes fun of the outfits and, in fact, compliment him on them, and he really does care about the clothes and how he looks in them. It's endearing. He tries almost anything he can think of to get kicked out, up to attempting to eat an entire Jeep. He gets married, divorced, and then married again to a Korean woman at the end of the series. When Radar leaves the show, Klinger takes over his role as company clerk. I thought that was a good move instead of bringing in yet another replacement. Klinger is played by Jamie Farr. Like William Christopher, he was recurring the first few seasons and made a regular in season 4. And Farr had a lot in common with his character. He actually did serve in Korea and really was from Toledo. Farr appeared in movies like Scrooged, Cannonball Run, and Blackboard Jungle. As of this recording, he is still with us. So as I said earlier, our Thanksgiving episode is called Yalu, Yalu, Yalu Brick Road from season 8, and it was written by cast member Mike Farrell. It was directed by Charles S. Dubin. Dubin directed 44 episodes in total of the series. He also worked on Lou Grant, Hawaii Five-O, Kojak, and Ironside. He passed away in 2011. This episode aired November 19th, 1979. It ran against a Bob Hope special, Bob Hope on Campus on NBC, and Angie on ABC. Never heard of that one. So I looked it up. It was a one-season sitcom with Donna Pescow and Robert Hayes. You're welcome for that information. Now let's get into it. The episode starts with an epidemic sweeping the 4077. Potter is keeping all the sick personnel in post-op. They've got salmonella. Mulcahy enters, having been away for Thanksgiving visiting the orphanage and wondering why everyone is down for the count. Potter deduces that the source of the illness was the turkey that Klinger made them for dinner. At the moment, Potter is the only doctor on site. Winchester and Houlihan are at the 8063rd unit helping out, and Hawkeye and BJ are at the battalion aid. Mulcahy is more than happy to start helping out because he's just so pure. Klinger comes in and is greeted by a chorus of boos for making them all sick. He defends himself because he and Potter ate it too and they're fine. Please try to hold on to your shock when both of them get sick later. Klinger reports that Charles and Margaret will be back in an hour, but it's going to take Hawkeye and BJ 3 or 4 to get back with some meds. Cut to Hawkeye and BJ speeding down the road with Hawkeye begging him to slow down. No need to slow down, BJ's already gotten them lost. While they're arguing about this, he crashes the Jeep. Good work. They're both fine, but the Jeep is turned over on its side. But this has not dampened BJ's confidence. He's seen MPs roll Jeeps right side up by just rocking it back to its wheels. So they start to push and rock, and then the thing tips all the way over. God damn it, BJ. Back in post-op, Klinger and then Potter go down. They've got the turkey shits too. But there is some good news. The rest of the camp cheer when they find out Klinger's sick. So BJ and Hawkeye now have to try and walk back to camp even though they're lost. They come across a North Korean soldier and both sides immediately try to surrender to each other and put their hands up. Our heroic doctors do not know what to make of this and slowly put their hands down. The soldier follows their lead. BJ says this is a great moment in military history. They've all captured each other. Hawkeye tries to explain that they're doctors. They don't really capture people and they'll just be going now. It's all good. Of course, this man does not speak English any more than the guys speak Korean, so we're getting nowhere fast. The soldier does not want them to go and keeps trying to surrender. By the way, he is armed. They are not. Not that Hawkeye would use a gun anyway, ever. There's like a whole episode about that. Finally, some reinforcements arrive at the 4077. Charles and Margaret are back. Potter manages to inform them what's going on. He orders them to get to post-op and start helping out. Margaret insists that Potter get some rest and she and Charles will take over. Charles is like, yeah, but maybe after a nap and a shower, and then I'll listen to one of my operas. And thank you, Charles. In post-op, Mulcahy has never been this happy. He feels so useful. I love him. He just wants to serve his fellow man so badly. Just let him. Klinger asks if he can help, but someone whips a bedpan at him, so that's a hard no. Margaret and Charles come in, and Margaret is more than ready to do her job because she is a pro. Charles tells her that what everyone needs is nursing, and he's not a nurse, so bye. Of course, Margaret will have none of that. Sheets have to be washed, bedpans have to be changed, and he is going to help her. He is simply incredulous about this. And then he says, I'm a doctor, not a woman. The scene cuts there, presumably because censors at the time wouldn't allow us to see what horrors Margaret inflicted upon him after saying such a sexist thing. Back with our wandering surgeons, the soldier, who they are calling Ralph, is still following them. They called him Ralph after Hawkeye's high school girlfriend's little brother, who always followed them around on their dates. They stop for a rest, and Hawkeye tries to draw a map in the dirt to see if Ralph knows where they are, and yeah, he's not getting it, because why would he? You're doing a terrible job, Hawkeye. Suddenly, Ralph turns his gun on them and starts yelling. And they comply, hands go back up. I mean, what else are they gonna do? That's when they spot a small group of North Korean soldiers coming upon them. Hawkeye reminds BJ to tell them only name, rank, and serial number. And if they ask nicely, MacArthur's home address. So true, King. Sell out, everyone. I hear you. Ralph talks with this group, seemingly telling them that the two of them are his prisoners. And eventually the group moves on, and when they're out of sight, Ralph's chill again. He saved their lives. And he immediately re-surrenders. Back at camp, Mulcahy is like Snow White cleaning up the dwarves' cottage. His cheeriness is only further irritating Charles, who is actually washing the linen as he was instructed to do. Margaret comes in and is displeased with his subpar work on the sheets. He wants to quit laundry, and that suits her fine because bedpans are piling up. They get into a screaming match, and Charles calls her a bimbo. He is lucky she's not armed. Father Mulcahy gets between them and calms everything down. He reminds them that they are the only ones able to do anything right now, so they need to work together. Charles decides to keep doing the laundry because he is not about that bedpan life. Meanwhile, Hawkeye, BJ, and Ralph come across an older civilian man who has overturned his cart and injured his leg. They decide to call him Fred. They figure his home can't be very far, and being as the man is so tiny, ginormous 8-foot-tall BJ gives him a piggyback ride. At camp, Margaret catches Charles napping in the swamp. The swamp, by the way, is the name of the tent that he shares with Hawkeye and BJ. Anyway, she literally rips the screen wall down and gives him 3 seconds to get back to work. Charles, honestly, who do you think you're messing with here? On the road, the guys have found Fred's farm, somehow, and deliver him back to his wife. And wouldn't you know it, he just happens to have a motorcycle with a sidecar. And out of gratitude, he offers it to the doctors. BJ is psyched. He loves bikes. You may remember in the series finale, he drives off on one, as I guess he expects to ride to California from Korea. Best of luck with that. Hawkeye hops into the sidecar with all their gear, and Ralph sits behind BJ, and off they go! And Hawkeye is still complaining about BJ's driving, which I guess is fair, he did crash the Jeep. In post-op, Potter tries to get back up and help out Margaret and Mulcahy. He tells her to take a break and he'll keep an eye on everyone for a bit. Clearly the man is sick, but Margaret does take her break anyway. He asks Igor, a recurring character, if he's feeling any better, and no, not really. And as he's describing all of his symptoms, Potter starts to feel it again too, poor man. Finally, Hawkeye and BJ make it back to camp, and run straight into all the laundry that Charles has just hung up to dry. And he is incensed! Potter, Margaret, and Mulcahy come out to greet them, and get the meds to all the sick people. Potter orders the guys into post-op to start helping out. And Ralph tags along with them. A question on this in a bit. We have a brief tag. Klinger gets on the phone to HQ Supply. He's still very sick, by the way. He gets through to the sergeant who sold him the poison turkey and tells him to stuff it. The end. Anyway, my question is, what'd they do with Ralph? I mean, Potter would have to deliver him to a POW camp, yes? That seems kind of fucked up. Ralph was a good guy. I hope he ended up okay. Anyway, I really like this episode. It's a lot of fun. I know I said that I like the more dramatic turn the show took later on, and I stand by that, I do. But that doesn't mean I don't ever want any lightness, and this is a fluffy episode. I also gravitate toward the episodes about the whole camp, where they all have to come together for some reason, either to relocate, they're short on supplies, or they're all just trying to watch a movie together. And this counts as one of those. They're all at the 4077 for a common cause, and I enjoy episodes that highlight that. Because despite their disdain for the situation and the war at large, they all take their responsibilities to wounded soldiers seriously. I for sure got the most enjoyment in this episode from seeing Father Mulcahy so fulfilled. Bless that precious man. Happy Thanksgiving to all who celebrate.